Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the BC NDP has rolled out its brand new house flipping tax, Sea to Sky road travelers have been expressing some safety concerns, and pet owners have to watch out after some cat food proved to be deadly.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cal Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. The City of Prince Rupert recently sent out a statement on Facebook regarding on what has most recently happened with the Sherbrooke apartments. Back on Christmas Eve, the apartment building caught on fire, which ended up affecting 36 of the building's units and 99 of its residents. Luckily, everyone was evacuated safely and control of the building was given back to the owner, a company known as Macro Properties. So they're the ones that can be contacted by displaced residents about getting access to their units or get an update on what has happened in terms of damage to their place. Not too long ago, BC Transit released an article that disclosed just how they will be operating in various local northern municipalities once New Year's Eve comes around tomorrow. The article mentioned that said northern municipalities like Kitimat will get free buses after 7 p.m. and service extended until 5 a.m., Prince Rupert will have free service between 5 p.m. and 1:30 a.m., and Smithers is getting free service after 8 p.m. and extended service until 2:30 a.m. More of the details on how things will be done throughout the rest of the province's municipalities can be found on BC Transit's website. We now look at some new laws aiming to help make housing more affordable in BC. The provincial NDP is rolling out its new home flipping tax, attempting to discourage profiteers. But as CTV's Craig Krause reports, some experts believe this could do more harm than good.
The days of flipping homes in BC for a quick profit without consequences are numbered. When the clock strikes midnight on Wednesday, the province will introduce a flipping tax, forcing all buyers to wait 2 years before selling a new property or face a steep penalty, 20% on profits within 1 year, before dropping to 10% if sold after 18 months.
You're making profiteers think twice about their flipping behavior.
But as the tax nears, some experts say it will have little impact.
In fact, it further restricts homes coming to market. For those that have actually renovated homes, they now have to wait 2 years if they want to avoid paying the taxes. So they can add to the rental stock, but at the same time, it restricts people from buying what would have otherwise been a home that they could have gotten started in.
And when you invest in a pre-sale with the intent of never living in the place, really all you're acting as is a partner in the construction project. And I don't think anybody thinks investment in construction is a bad thing. So I would love to see pre-sales flips exempted from this tax.
Last month, Stats Canada released data on residential properties from 2019 to 2021. It found that under 3% of homes were sold within 1 year of purchasing. The number jumped to nearly 5.5% within 2 years, a number the province looks to tackle, but admits this tax is not a silver bullet.
Not one measure is going to address housing crisis overall.
The BC Real Estate Association says incentives and dialogue with real estate groups is needed to avoid doing more harm than good.
We're not going to achieve that with ill-informed and ill-conceived policy. It has to be a multitude of well-intentioned and policy that has the right outcome.
Now all eyes will be on Premier David Eby and his team, as housing affordability remains an issue for many heading into 2025. Craig Krause, CTV News, Vancouver.
Coming up next is a report overlooking 2024 for both Vancouver's mayor and city council. Welcome back. We now look over to a report from CTV's Isabella Zavarisi that goes into detail on what exactly went on during the second year of Vancouver Mayor Ken Sims' tenure, as well as how Vancouver City Council's year went as well.
At the helm of city politics is a man some might associate with athleisure and vibes.
Shotgun City!
Year 2 of Mayor Ken Sim's tenure gave a better picture of what his ABC majority party was capable of.
This has been a challenging year for council, and I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat that.
While plans to axe Vancouver's Park Board were announced last December, the contentious move hovered over Sim's office as the city awaits the province's sign-off.
This transition isn't just about governance. It's about unlocking opportunities to save, to improve, and to invest.
Sim's snap decision to abolish the board signaled cracks in his party's foundation.
This ABC council has, I think, started to develop a reputation for unexpected ideas delivered in unexpected ways, and at times these have created effectively problems of their own devising.
The bold move set a trend. In July, ABC councillor Brian Montague introduced a last-minute amendment to allow natural gas in new construction.
To roll back climate measures, especially when the industry is all moving in the direction of implementing those changes, is absolutely ridiculous.
Sim phoned in from Europe to help it pass, but it was eventually defeated in November as 3 ABC councillors voted against party lines.
This government does seem to, in some cases, almost stumble into trouble, where there is an initial idea that probably should be debated, and rather than having a fulsome debate and discussion around the issue, we see a tendency to double down or try to push the issue through.
Such as when Montague tabled a motion to try and stall the work of an oversight body meant to support council. Political scientist Stuart Prest says the decision ignited questions from the public.
Biggest indictment, I think, of the ABC majority was its attempt to try to completely sideline the work of the ethics commissioner for the city over the summer.
Well, it feels like this whole thing has been politicized. This is all about political theater.
And Sim and his team appear to be the stars. Remember the infamous F-bomb dropped in council chambers?
This is not the Wild West procedure, and I apologize for that.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to call a point of order because
call a point of order, and I will retract.
Highly inappropriate, and I like to state
I was in the middle of speaking.
And who could forget Montague finding signs drawn by children intimidating? But perhaps the most unusual antic, the mayor converting a city boardroom into a personal gym.
I rather cheekily called it Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House.
Oh, this is no longer Barbie's dream house.
Barbie references aside, council has made some progress, in some instances working together. It unanimously voted to create more bus lanes. Other decisions received lukewarm reaction, selling naming rights to public assets and limiting the public's access to view cones. Prest thinks Sim's unwavering support for the Vancouver Police Department has made a dent.
There's some evidence that incidents of criminal activity in the city is declining.
He thinks the party needs to start working together, or the public could be in for more of the same next year. And if that's the case, brace for more last-minute decisions and theatrics. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News.
There are new concerns for pet owners over a bird-related flu. An indoor house cat in Oregon has died after eating food sold and distributed here in BC. As CTV's Yasmin Gandam explains, it's a reminder to be extra cautious with your furry friends.
This is the bag of cat food that killed a house cat in Oregon. The brand Northwest Naturals has now recalled one batch of its 2-pound feline turkey recipe raw frozen pet food after it tested positive for bird flu.
Hearing that a cat who was indoor only, who's never, been outside or potentially had exposure to wild birds, that's scary.
The company says the same product was sold in several states in the U.S. and here in BC. The recall applies to products packaged in 2-pound plastic bags with expiry dates between May 21st, 2026 and June 23rd, 2026.
The easiest thing that we can say is don't feed your pets raw meat items, whether it's poultry or beef.
It comes after a senior in Louisiana was hospitalized earlier this month with the virus after coming in contact with sick birds in a backyard flock. Now the U.S. CDC says a genetic analysis suggests the bird flu virus mutated inside the patient, but there is no known transmission of the virus to anyone else.
And for now, there has not been any increase in transmission to humans in Canada. We have that single case. There's no human-to-human transmission.
BC health officials investigated the infection of a critically ill teen with the virus in our province, but the source was never identified. The Ministry of Health says no cases have been found in cats or dogs in BC. Their advice is to keep pets away from any sick or dead animals. 74 farms are currently affected in BC, the highest in Canada, but poultry farms are cautiously optimistic.
As December has moved along, we've seen the number of cases slow. We haven't had an infected premise since Monday.
Canada's chief public health officer says bird flu is among her top concerns heading into next year. Yasmin Gandham, CTV News, Vancouver.
Drivers who frequent BC's Sea to Sky Highway have recently raised alarm over some dangerous conditions appearing upon the popular route. CTV's Mark McMahon has more on the calls for change and the response that has been given by the province.
The views on this route are breathtaking, but the conditions can be hair-raising on dark and wet days. That's when some drivers say they can't see the road markings properly, causing close calls on a regular basis, even for those who know the road well.
When it gets rainy and you get a lot of mist coming up from other vehicles, there's nothing. There are no lines. It is it's a competition to see which reflects the most, and usually the water and puddles reflect more than the actual lines do.
Especially from Britannia through Squamish onward, there were no lines whatsoever. I mean, it was raining a little bit, like just a little bit of drizzle, and no yellow line visible, no white line visible, or hardly noticeable.
Some believe the federal ban of oil-based paints on roads has resulted in less visible, less durable lines.
Yeah, no, it's quite a hairy experience, and I've driven this highway. I know the highway a lot, where the corners are and stuff like that, right? But I pity the poor person who comes up here and doesn't know the road.
Beyond the paint, some, including those who regularly drive professionally, believe safety could be improved in other ways.
Essentially, you're looking at a highway that was updated and designed 25 years ago for the Winter Olympics, and then it seems to have generally been forgot about.
In response to our questions, the province told us it always reviews the products used on highways. It says line markings are refreshed each spring, saying repainting isn't possible during winter. The Ministry of Transportation declined our request for an interview to explore some of these issues further, but insists it takes safety seriously. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
And now we took a look at both your nightly and weekly weather forecast. For the nightly forecast, the North Coast will see a chance of showers at a low at 2 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area should get a chance of flurries while their low sits at -3 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will also see a chance of flurries, but with a low at -5 degrees instead. Over to the weekly forecast now, the North Coast will most likely see lots of rain with possibly a few flurries mixed in as their high moves from 5 to 2 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, the week for them should see one sunny day mixed in with lots of days with flurries and a high that bounces between -4 and -2 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, next week or so will most likely get a fair bit of snow and clouds while the high shifts from -3 to -10 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is slippery sections, utility work, high winds, maintenance, and the Usk Ferry has been shut down for the season with the cable car now in effect. Highway 35 has slippery sections, and Highway 118 has some slippery sections too. Highway 37 also has slippery sections, and the Moodley Creek Rest area is still closed due to flooding. Highway 37A has more slippery sections. There's some slippery sections on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has slippery sections as well. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, people aren't happy with potential incoming BC ferry fare raises. Welcome back. BC Ferries is set to be in a position where they're required to raise their fares by a pretty substantial amount, but unsurprisingly, this news isn't sitting well with their customers. CTV's Brendan Strain reports.
BC Ferry says by 2028, it needs to raise fares by 30%, or roughly $26 for a car and a driver one way, on a major route. And for passengers at the Swartz Bay Ferry Terminal today, that number is not sitting well.
I think that's a little high. I think it's crazy because I'm back and forth a lot.
In a statement to CTV News, the CEO of BC Ferry says, it is estimated the cost to build vessels has risen approximately 40% since 2020. Our customers have been clear in their expectations for a seamless, integrated transportation experience, and the pressing need to replace aging assets requires further investment beyond what the current model allows for.
If there's going to be an increase, there are certain services that maybe should be improved as well. It's a two-way street as far as I'm concerned.
BC Ferry says on the service level front, this increase will only allow the system to maintain its current levels. The Premier weighing in today on the idea of a 30% fare increase for travelers.
We provided direct financial support to BC Ferries to ensure that British Columbians could rely on consistent fares, whether they run businesses or whether they live on an island. They're dependent on that as their highway commute.
Eby says that consistency is important to British Columbians and that his government will continue to work with BC Ferries to ensure that affordability is maintained. Although he says there is a two-part onus on the ferry system.
One is ensuring we're protecting British Columbians, and the other is reassurance to British Columbians that BC Ferries is operating as efficiently as possible, bringing down costs wherever possible, recognizing that global inflation has driven up the cost of everything, including, unfortunately, ferry boats.
BC Ferry says it is looking to create a sustainable funding model that is critical for meeting the evolving needs of BC communities and supporting the infrastructure that residents rely on. For passengers, the proposed increase is far too steep.
I don't think very many people are going to be happy with it.
Well, it really kind of keeps you trapped on the island if you live here.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a hit.
Brendan Strain, CTV News, North Saanich.
Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter has died at 100 years old after spending roughly 22 months in hospice care. The Georgia peanut farmer served one turbulent term in the White House before building a reputation as a global humanitarian and champion of democracy. He defeated Gerald Ford in 1976, promising to restore trust in government, but then lost to Ronald Reagan 4 years later amid soaring inflation, gas station lines, and the Iran hostage crisis. He and his wife Rosalind then formed the Carter Center, and he earned a Nobel Peace Prize while making himself the most internationally engaged of former presidents. The Carter Center said that he died peacefully, surrounded by his family. Champagne, Prosecco, Cava, and sparkling wine. There are tons of options available for New Year's and for nearly every budget. But is it worth spending big bucks, or are the cheaper bottles just as sweet as the expensive ones? CTV's news team recently went and put bubbly to the test.
Fancy labels under wraps, marked A, B, C. 3 disguised bottles of chilled bubbly our CTV reporters are sampling.
Start with B. Okay.
At random.
This is A. This is A.
Our tasters know it's some form of sparkling wine.
This one's actually really good. Tastes like champagne.
They don't know which one sells for $14, which goes for $19, and which is priced at $40 a bottle.
You're looking for fine, not slow, but just gentle bubbles from the bottom middle of the glass, just gently rising elegantly up to the top.
It's a little bit dry, but I like it.
It's respectable.
We've asked them to choose and jot down their first, second, and third favorite.
Not a fan of that one, I'm not gonna lie.
A is the most pleasant, but I'm not convinced it's the most expensive.
Now, none of us are experts, we're not sommeliers, but we do have taste buds and are full of differing opinions.
B is my favorite.
Oh my god!
Cleanliness, you don't want any off flavors.
As you've probably gathered, John Clarides of Marquee Wine Cellars is a bubbly savant.
Fruit, brioche, vanilla, oak, gooseberry, melon.
What I'll say right now is that the worst tasting one is not like distinctively worse than the best one.
I think I would pick C.
A was the best.
All votes in, we tallied the results and a clear winner emerged. Would you believe our victor is the cheapest? that $14 bottle.
It doesn't surprise me. You see a label, it says champagne, therefore it must be good. Like, I love champagne. I can't go out and spend $100, $120, $80 all the time. What really wows me is finding something good for $35 or $40 that tastes like $100. Now that's a skill.
So seek out your favorite, cheap or pricey. Most importantly, from all of us at CTV News, Happy New Year.
And now we turn our attention to how the stock markets are looking as of today, pre-closure. The Canadian dollar is up 13/10 of a cent. The price of gold is down $17.10. Oil is up 68 cents. Natural gas is up 62 cents. Aluminum is down $28.50. In Toronto, the TSX is down 133.49 points. The Venture Index is down 6.81. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 263.21, and Nasdaq is down 105.62. Still ahead is a story of a dog's return home as it did a surprising action. Welcome back. It was nothing short of a Christmas miracle when a lost dog announced her return by ringing the doorbell. Jim Rowbottom has more in Take a Look at This.
A dog rang her home's doorbell after being lost for 9 days.
Hi, you are currently being recorded.
Athena rang the doorbell early morning Christmas Eve. Her owner was overjoyed when she saw her on the doorbell cam. A neighbor and police in New Jersey tried to lure a dog off a frozen lake with a chicken cutlet dangling from a drone.
I know what it means to own a dog, and I can't imagine what the owner was going through, so anything I could do to help.
But it didn't work. Eventually, a police officer went out and got her off the lake. She then ran off again. She was found on a neighbor's porch the next day. Salmon was used this time to lure her home. Also in New Jersey, another dog was rescued with a private canoe ride. After falling through the ice at a frozen lake, the canine swam to an island where it got stranded. Firefighters in ice rescue gear scooted to the island, won the dog's trust with a few treats, leashed it, and ferried it safely to shore in a canoe they commandeered from a homeowner. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jim Rowbottom.
The BC Securities Commission said a man behind one of BC's largest investment frauds was ordered by the BC Supreme Court to use 2 retirement accounts to pay a massive fine. Earl Douglas Pasquill owes the commission $36.7 million and was ordered by the court on December 20th to forfeit any payments from 2 life income fund accounts. The commission said Pasquill withdraws about $75,000 annually from the accounts. Pasquill, along with Michael Patrick Lethigi, committed fraud while controlling a group of companies under the Freedom Investment Club that raised money from nearly 700 investors in 2008. The commission ordered them in 2014 to pay big administrative penalties, triggering years of still ongoing litigation. The Canada Border Services Agency said a man from Sicamous is facing firearms and drug trafficking charges after officers intercepted a package addressed to him earlier this year. On April 26, border officers at the Vancouver International Airport reportedly seized 3 prohibited devices in a package. The RCMP executed search warrants on the man's vehicle and boat in June, seizing 2 firearms, a spring-loaded baton, a stun gun, and trafficking quantities of illegal drugs. The man was charged on November 28th with 9 offenses, including possession of a restricted firearm and 4 counts of possession of drugs with the purpose of trafficking. He's set to appear in court on January 7th. That is all of our news for now. From all of us here at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.